on like 3 tinctures right now and prednisone because I believe in integrative medicine. And so we're gonna be all right. So for any of you who don't know me, I am a clinical herbalist, which means I work with very sick people. I'm also a licensed esthetician, so I have an herbal apothecary spa. I work with skin conditions from the inside out, and I am a holistic health practitioner. So I love all things 100% from the earth. And there's so much that we can do with them, and there's never limitations, which is what is so beautiful. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. They were saying that the speakers were a little goofy earlier. But today, I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects. So I love everything in my apothecary is wild crafted. In the world of herbalism right now, the business of botanicals is real and it's ugly and people need to know about it. So in the world of nutraceuticals and herbs, we have a lot of factory farming going on in other countries. So when you order your herbs in from someone, if you do, from somewhere or where you get them, please know you need to understand where they come from because a lot of them are adulterated and you don't want that. So I always try to stress that if you're getting into herbalism, please start working with a local herbalist in your area. Someone who can teach you how to work with these herbs in the correct way. And if you need to order herbs or you want herbal remedies, please work with a local herbalist. There are way too many online sources right now, and then there's a lot of factory farming, and it's just like farming, right? Do we want to support factory farmers, or do we want to support our local farmers who are doing the right thing? So I want to put that disclaimer out there so that people have the understanding of what is happening right now in this world. So wild edibles are one of my favorites. Like I said, I'm very much of eat your herbs every day. So herbs are not drugs. They are not pharmaceuticals, all right? So the way that herbal remedies and herbal medicines work in our bodies is by giving us the nutrition that we need. When you have these in your everyday life, then you don't need the pharmaceuticals all the time. Does that make sense? So herbalism is a way of life, not a take this for that. Unless you're me right now, and I'm living on wild cherry bark, which I have to be careful because it lowers your blood pressure and I don't need to pass out. So that is one of those more pharmacological herbs that you have to be careful with. But, so I like to make wild spice blends for my clients, wild tea blends. Every now and then I will do a tincture, but most plants, you don't even need a tincture. I forage my plants and I grow my plants in all different states that are local to us. So let's get started. Can everybody see lamb's quarters? Yep. A lot of people think this plant is a nuisance because they just don't understand it. So lamb's quarters is the first original spinach that we ever had. Sorry. This plant is high in oxalic acid. If you have kidney problems, you have to cook this plant before you eat it, okay? So when you cook a vegetable, the oxalates decrease and then you're fine. But this plant is great in salads, it's great in teas. Right now I have so much of this drying at my apothecary, and I'm making wild spice blends all winter. So that way when I'm working with my clients and they're sick and I'm teaching them how to make different types of broths for themselves, this will be in it. Right? So if you can see all of the beautiful things that you can do with this plant, I mean, look at that, 300 milligrams of calcium. But you know, we're supposed to drink milk from factory farms. I don't think so. All right. So then you can make that into a tea, and all of those minerals are going to absorb into that water. Super high in, it has beautiful iron and potassium. And this plant is amazing with basil and mint if you have an upset stomach. Just make a tea out of it. And it grows on pretty much everybody's property. Is there anybody here that actually does not have lamb's quarters? I don't know, it's literally everywhere. Do you guys have it, Chase? It's everywhere. But I love that with the ascorbic acid in it, it helps to fight against round and hookworms, which we get those a lot on farms with farm animals. So you can just make a tea out of it and then keep it in your everyday diet, and then that way it will help protect you from even getting those. Topically, a poultice can be made from the leaves for insect bites and stings, just like you can use plantain leaves. But you know, one plant always gets the popularity, but no, you can use so many plants for insect bugs and stings, and this is a great one. And it's a great blood purifier. And you're gonna see me talk about blood purifying. Let's talk about why we would need to. So if you have been sick and you've been on any type of a pharmaceutical, you will want to purify your blood, right? And what happens, you'll see a common theme in these plants, it's the phytochemicals. So the green color that you see in all these plants, they purify your blood when you eat them. Mulberry, it's one of my favorites. I call this the multivitamin of nature. I like to take the leaves and just let them air dry, powderize them, put them in tea blends, put them in spice blends, and make mulberry matcha. It's fabulous. This plant is amazing for your cardiovascular system. It really helps to keep your blood vessels very strong and healthy. I will use this with my clients who have been on high blood pressure medication for a long time, because those high blood pressure medications will actually start to thin and deteriorate the cell walls of your arteries. So when people are like, well, what do I do because I have to be on high blood pressure medication? And maybe they do, but there are so many other things you can do to help control that through working with the kidneys and the nervous system. And then you can add in supports like this to help to combat the damage from the pharmaceutical. So I'm hoping that this helps you look at mulberry in a different light, because mulberry also is invasive. People get mad at it and they want to pull it up, and I'm like, well, maybe you need it. And you should just pay attention to that, because who doesn't need these amazing nutrients in our world right now? Okay, the magnolia tree. It's one of my favorites. We have a YouTube channel, and I was trying to teach people how they can use magnolia from their own yard just for a sleepy time tea. So magnolia bark, what its specific medicine is doing is that it helps to work with your nervous system. So for people who are battling anxiety, they don't always need a Xanax. You know, I have one lady, she's a client of mine who's a nurse, and she has all kinds of magnolia trees, and she was able to get off of her pharmaceuticals just by learning how to use her bark as a tea blend. The leaves taste like rosemary met ginger, so they're also demulcent, like a sassafras leaf. You can make tea out of them and put them into soups and stews, and they will thicken and add a beautiful flavor, and they also help to support your nervous system. And then the flowers also have that beautiful flavor, and my favorite thing to do with the flowers is to pickle them. So if you've never pickled magnolia flowers in the spring, it's something really fun to do. And then add in some bay leaves and ginger, and it is such a fun treat, and then you can use them on tacos. I have friends in the audience who love tacos. So, okay, wild ginger root. Wild ginger root always grows in a forest area. You will always find this root in a colony, because every root is connected. You don't have to harvest very much of it. It's really high in essential oils, so it's a very strong flavor. And I love to use this in spice blends. I make cough medicines out of it. I love it in muscle rubs. So you can take it and make infused oils and make topical salves out of it for those strained muscles and tendons. It has nothing to do with the ginger that we know that's commercialized. It's a completely different plant. But you can see here all the different things you can do with this. You don't want to eat the leaves. They're mildly toxic, so they can make you feel bad. They're not going to kill you, but they'll make your stomach hurt. In Southern folk medicine, I think it's kind of interesting because they will take the leaves and crush them up dried and then snort them. And because they're so irritating, if you're super congested, you won't stop sneezing. So it's a way you can like get things out. I don't think I want to do it, but it is done. Can everybody see all of this okay? Or you can see what I've written? I don't know if it was too bright in here. Just a show of hands, does anybody use wild ginger root? Nobody? Oh man, y'all need to find this plant. I wonder, I bet people have it on their property and they don't even know it. Or, you do? Yes, we have some.
I think we do. I didn't know it.
Yes, it always grows in a wooded area, so you won't find it in the sun. It grows out, but people will get it confused because it looks like a large violet. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. Under more of a forest canopy because it can't grow in full sun. Okay. Yes. But even, gosh, I find it everywhere. Walking in parks, state parks, it's everywhere. Just getting out into nature and you start finding this amazing plant. I love doing plant walks on people's property, and then I'll find like huge patches of it and they had no idea that it was even there. Okay, so the beautiful wild carrot or Queen Anne's lace. My only thing with this plant is that in the early spring, I tell people just to leave it alone because it can grow right next to poison hemlock and you will not know the difference. That early in the season, you can't see a stem. And you don't want to ever confuse that because that could be very fatal for you. So as Queen Anne's lace starts to grow and your wild hemlock, your poison hemlock grows, you can easily tell the difference because the stems look nothing alike. A wild carrot stem is going to be like the size of your pinky. It's going to be furry and it's just going to look fragile with a pretty flower on top. Poison hemlock is tall and it stands in its power and it has a thick stem with no fur and it looks like someone took purple paint and like splattered it. So when you know the difference, you can't not tell the difference with this plant. But as this grows, oh my gosh, it's one of my most utilized plants at the apothecary. So I love, you can make fritters out of the leaves, they taste out of the flowers, but the leaves have a specific chemistry that supports our pituitary glands. Okay, so at my apothecary, something I see constantly is hormonal imbalances. And I want you to think about every hormone in the body, not just, your sex hormones. But what creates hormonal imbalances? Factory farming, pesticides in foods, petrochemicals, all the plastic that we have around us. So the toxic world that we live in is creating all of these endocrine disruptions. But instead of focusing on one hormone at a time, because when you think about it, that doesn't make any sense. There's a reason why one hormone isn't working. You go to the master gland. And so when you take these leaves and you make something as simple as a tea or spice blends and you add them into your omelets in the morning, you make them a part of your everyday life, then what are you doing? You're sending direct support to your pituitary gland to help then have that domino effect to support every hormone in your body. Makes sense. We do so much with reductionist medicine in the pharmaceutical world, and in the world of herbalism, it's the opposite. You are literally treating yourself as a whole. So I love to just make sun tea out of it, cut a bunch of it, set it in the sun and let it infuse all day. Has kind of a sweet, crisp flavor to it. Pair it with some mint and dandelion. It's absolutely beautiful. This plant also has an amazing chemistry in it that helps if you battle with gout. So extra uric acid in the body. This plant is very, very well known. So its herbal affinity is to help you drain excess fluids in the body. So in the spring, you'll see with chickweed, I like to pair this plant with chickweed and the two of them together and chop it up and have people eat them in their salads, make teas out of them. And its very strong diuretic effect helps people really lose excess weight. It's amazing. Now, there's common sense there too, right? Like they can't keep picking out on the crap that they want to eat and do this and think it's just going to magically take off. But boy, does it really create support when you're wanting to purify and cleanse your body, because it's pulling everything through that lymphatic system down through your kidneys. And in the pharmaceutical world, we have diuretics, which deplete us of potassium and needed minerals. In the plant world, when you have a plant, that's called an aquaretic. So it's doing the same thing. It's pulling excess fluid out of the body, but at the same time, it's giving you minerals instead of depleting you. There we go. This plant is contraindicated during pregnancy because of the fluids. You don't want to lose excess fluids. Shoot, hold on, I passed burdock. Okay. Oh, I just thought this was funny. So I had to put those pictures there. Because we were digging up this big patch of burdock, and then look how big that flippin' root is. It is just huge. That has so much medicine in there, it's just gorgeous. But, so with burdock, oh man, I just love this plant. A lot of people like to tincture it. It's never made sense to me to take liver-supporting herbs and put them in a tincture form. It just doesn't make any sense. And when you're working with root medicine, there's so many polysaccharides and so many fibers and inulin that absorb better if you just eat them like a food or drink them like a tea or put them in your soups. They're so much better as a wild food than in a tincture form, because you're only going to get part of the chemistry of the root. And you don't need, if you're someone with liver disease, I'm not going to give you a tincture anyway. So why give you a liver supportive herb in a tincture form? See what I mean? It's just breaking down the chemistry of your plants.
Hey y'all, wasn't Karen's talk great? Listen, that was only part of her talk at the Indiana Homesteading Conference, but I've got great news for you. If you enjoyed that talk, she's going to be at our event November 4th, 4109 South Underwood Road, Scottsburg, Indiana. It's celebrating the harvest, and she's going to come out and do a talk, but she's also going to do a lot more hands-on demonstration as well at our event. So come on out and have fun with us and learn a little bit more from Karen. It's a free event, guys. As always, till next time, keep dreaming.